Hi there and welcome to another Athena Insights video. My name's Linda Murray and in this video I'm going to talk about overcoming fear and building the courage you need to move forward with your goals. This video is actually really relevant to me right now because, to be honest, recording videos has been on the cards for me for quite a long time, and every time my team approach me to do it, I seem to find this perfectly valid reason not to do it. See, everyone has fears from time to time. When this happens, it's important that first you acknowledge that these are just a normal part of being human. When fear sets in, it's really important to recognise it for what it is. You're scared about something, and that's okay. Only then can you move forward with definitive strategies and plans in place. See, we're all unique, so you will have a very individual set of behaviours that show up for you when you lack confidence or are afraid to take the next step. These behaviours are your unique fear response. When you recognise what fear looks like and feels like for you personally, it makes it a whole lot easier to find solutions to overcome that fear. So let's take a look at some of the ways that you can overcome fear and be more courageous. So how can you combat fear and lack of confidence? I often get asked this by clients, and to be honest, I don't think anyone is truly fearless. I think fearlessness is a state we can aspire to. But if we had no fear, then one of two things has happened. One, you're either not stepping outside your comfort zone and you're playing life way too safely, or two, you're dead. And I know that sounds really harsh, but it's true. At the most basic level, humans are born with a fear instinct in order to protect ourselves from danger and therefore to survive as a species. So fear is simply our brain keeping us on alert to the things that might threaten our survival. In other words, we need to feel fear to stay alive. So rather than combating fear, I encourage you to work out how to build courage in order to bravely face your fears. And how do you increase your self-confidence so that you can feel more courageous? To do this, you need to have a clear understanding of how to deal with the feelings of fear in the most effective way for you personally. A great way is to look at your strengths and how you use them to support you. When you know and utilise your strengths, it makes it much easier to find the right solutions to really allay those fears and doubts. See, most of us know a few of our strengths, but there are probably even more that you could be tapping into every day. If you're not sure of what your top strengths are or you need a refresher, take a look at the VIA Character Strengths Survey or the Gallup Strengths Finder Survey. Once you've completed these questionnaires, you'll receive an in-depth report outlining all of your strengths, not just the ones you instinctively rely on each day. You can find links to these resources on the Athena Coaching website. Once you've identified your top strengths, you can then take an objective look at how you can use them to alleviate any fear or lack of confidence that shows up for you. Often the things that make us fearful are simply those things that we've spent far too much time focusing on. It could be an experience you had when you were growing up, or maybe a belief that you keep reaffirming to yourself, whether it's true or not. Turn your perspective around from how hard or scary a situation is to how you can best handle the task by tapping into your strengths. A common example of feeling fear that I speak about a lot is when people go to ask for a pay rise. This is often something that we put off due to our lack of confidence. If you looked at your strengths, you generally find that you've called on these particular strengths in similar situations before. Let's say that fairness is one of your top strengths. Chances are you've called on this strength in past negotiations, either for yourself or for someone else, so that the situation is a win-win and feels fair. Think back to the language you used then and how you tackled that situation effectively. Draw on those past experiences where you've leveraged your strengths and suddenly you realise you've got more tools in the kit than you give yourself credit for. So taking an objective approach to overcoming fear is so much easier and more comfortable when you break down the situation into much smaller portions and then work through them systematically. It feels much easier to take the next courageous step than it does to combat the fear of an entire situation. So let's say you're feeling really apprehensive about asking for that pay increase and the possibility that your leader might say no. Rather than letting fear of the potential negative result cripple you, break it down into tiny steps. Build a business case for your raise. Know your value. How will you demonstrate the ROI on that pay increase? and what will help you feel more confident in that meeting. A lot of my clients have a couple of power outfits, they call them, which are those outfits they wear when they need to be game on. They feel like they're getting in character. So when you treat every situation like a military maneuver and plan it out, it becomes far less daunting. This will help you build your confidence, and that mountain that you thought was ahead of you suddenly becomes a molehill and you wonder what all the fuss was about. So what do we do when things don't go well? Don't let fear or doubts dictate your future. Once you acknowledge that you feel even the smallest amount of fear, change your mindset and practice these tips. By allowing yourself to wallow in the negative thoughts of the imposter syndrome, you're missing great opportunities to grow and learn. It's a time to be courageous and show the world that you can do the things that you set out to accomplish. So how do we overcome imposter syndrome? The first is your successes matter. You didn't get this far by chance. While some opportunities might have come down to luck or the right place at the right time, you worked hard to achieve your latest promotion or to afford the home you live in or for your overall success. Women in particular tend to put their career successes down to luck or attribute their success to someone else. But you need to acknowledge that you actually play the starring role in your success and you are more than qualified to carry on. Don't dwell on the negative. Easier said than done, right? Things can and do go wrong. This is just part of being a leader and part of life generally. To be an effective leader, you must pick yourself up and look for ways to guide your team and to lead yourself and your company forward. Making mistakes doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. And as long as you learn from your mistakes and no one gets hurt in the process, then I believe you're better off for the experience. Avoid the 2 keys to unhappiness. So years ago, a wise man told me that there are 2 keys to unhappiness. One is comparisons and the other is expectations. So comparisons. Comparing yourself to others is like comparing apples and oranges. Everyone is different, everyone is unique. Comparing yourself to someone else will either leave you feeling less than, which is disheartening, or more than, which is just ego, and that's also not particularly helpful. So, I'm a huge fan of identifying your role models, but don't look for the perfect person who you'd like to be exactly like. Instead, look for specific character traits in others that you would like to emulate. So, for example, I love how she always looks professional, or I love how he presents, or I love how she inspires her team and motivates them. Don't compare yourself with others, learn from others, and set out to be the best leader you can be in your own authentic style. The other one was expectations. These days I only work with high performers, and I know that high performers have really high expectations of themselves. That's what makes them high performers, right? My challenge to you, though, is to know the difference between high expectations and excessive expectations. I think of it like this. High expectations are those that we happily place upon ourselves and others. They drive high performance. Excessive expectations, on the other hand, are those that we just wouldn't feel comfortable verbalizing to another. They kill performance. If your expectations that you're placing on yourself are excessive, be fair. If you wouldn't ask it of someone else, don't ask it of yourself. You know what gets the best out of the people around you, so apply the same principles of motivation and leadership to yourself. Take on new opportunities. Imposter syndrome can stop you from taking on new challenges because you feel like you're not good enough or you might be caught out. Statistics say that as many as 70% of us suffer from imposter syndrome at one time or another. And it's times like that that we tend to cling to the sidelines and play small. That feeling of kind of flying under the radar. So embrace new opportunities to be fearless. And by fearless, I don't mean without fear. I mean show the courage in the face of the fear. Susan Jeffers wrote a fantastic book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I highly recommend that as a great read. Don't let fear or doubts dictate your future. Once you acknowledge that you feel even the smallest amount of fear, change your mindset and practice these tips. By allowing yourself to wallow in the negative thoughts of the imposter syndrome, you're missing great opportunities to grow and learn. It's a time to be courageous and show the world that you can do the things that you set out to accomplish. If you struggle with fear, lack of confidence, and the imposter syndrome, feel free to get in touch. You're not alone. It's one of the most common traits of most high performers. Do you have a topic that you'd love to hear more about? Post in the comments below and be sure to stay in touch and take a few moments to subscribe to Athena Insights below. Until next time, here's to your success.